InfoWars has more than 15 YouTube channels and about 3 million subscribers. Our main channel has 1.854 or 1,854,000 plus subscribers. Now, they've been gaming the system for a long time to shut down nationalistic or patriotic media, saying we're right-wingers, saying we're extremists. Well, it doesn't matter who we are. We have a right to free speech, don't we? As long as we don't violate the rules. Well, now Zuckerberg has come out and said he's going to restrict conservative news like communist China does, calling it fake news. And Google, that owns YouTube, has announced, and they've done it now 2 weeks ago, that they're going to basically make you click the bell in your notifications. We're going to show you how to do that, or you won't get all the channels that you've subscribed to, and you won't get the videos. Now, why are they doing this? It's more than just censoring. They want you to see the videos that they feed you below and beside the videos you're looking at that are corporately sponsored so they make more money. They're taking the you out of YouTube. So we're in this information war, and it's more important than ever that you promote the videos, that you like the videos, and that you send them on to others. Because the answer to the attempt to shut us down and restrict free speech that's openly now happening is for us to redouble our efforts. We're winning the culture war as true classical liberals that made this country great. We're restoring the Renaissance. So again, if you want to get our videos, so you can make your decision whether you want to see them or not. After all, that's why you subscribed. YouTube's had this since they started 12 years ago or whatever it was. And they're fundamentally changing it so you don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting fake news and trash news and establishment news. It's killing real independent news. But we the people, by taking action, can break the back of this system. So please, click on the bell so you get the notifications and so you get in your feed the videos and channels you've subscribed to. I'm Alex Jones for Infowars.com. Well, it's official. Donald Trump is President 45, and he'll be seated, if he's not assassinated or if there isn't World War III, in 30 days. We're now just 30 days out from the historic inauguration, but we're still going to keep counting down because we saw the Russian ambassador to Turkey gunned down at an art exhibit by a Turkish police officer screaming Allah Akbar. But of course, this has nothing to do with Islam as usual, just like the 89 dead in Nice and the 400 plus wounded, that attack in July. And now, of course, we have the new attack in Berlin. 12 dead, more than 70 people injured, many of them in critical condition. And first we heard it was a self-driving truck, but they don't make one for that company. And then we heard it was a young Pakistani illegal immigrant, or what's the term they use for them, migrants. And now they're saying they don't know who. So the media is calling it a truck attack. And of course, a month or so ago in Ohio, we were told that the Somali stabbing 9 people, trying to run folks over, was not Islamic, even though he pledged allegiance to ISIS and Al-Qaeda and was here illegally as usual. Obama came out and lectured everyone that we should not criticize Islam. There aren't many Muslim countries where they let Christians or Jews or anybody else live in peace. There aren't many Muslim countries where women don't have to wear bags over their heads. There aren't many Muslim countries where the Muslims live in peace with each other. My God, I don't want to be at war with the Muslims. I was against the Iraq War. I was against toppling Saddam, who was one of the only secular people in the region. And our government, as usual, is trying to overthrow Assad, who is secular, and where Jews and Christians and people could live, and non-radical Muslims, Alawites, some of the Shiites. That's not the case now. Our government, as usual, is allied with radical Orthodox Islam, Orthodox Wahhabist Islam. And why is that? Because Saudi Arabia sits on top of Mecca. Saudi Arabia, the modern country carved out of the Bedouin lands, is what British intelligence put in charge of the region. You know, Lawrence of Arabia. And it's the most radical, oppressive form of it. And it's taking over all of Islam. Were there historically golden eras of Islam when it wasn't expansionist, when it wasn't arts and sciences? Yes. But just ask Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire, what was left of the Roman Empire, about Islam. They'll tell you that Blue Mosque there in Turkey, formerly Formerly, of course, Constantinople is now Istanbul. And the men were all killed, and the women were put into sex slavery. Of course, the men were all killed slowly, put in as galley slaves. But again, that's the religion of peace. I'm cursed with knowing a little bit of history. And so now we have the latest vicious Allah Akbar attack, and the media is doing everything it can to cover it up. And we're hearing that this is Merkel's fault. We have German ministers coming out in the parliament saying it's Merkel's fault. Why, if you were in the Netherlands and you were a member of the parliament and said that, you'd be arrested and indicted and convicted, like we just saw a few weeks ago. We're going to be breaking that down as well today, because the social engineers admit they're bringing in millions and millions and millions of Muslims from radical third world hellholes who are completely incompatible with Western civilization to make us then conform to it and change our laws so we don't stir them up. And then we have to ban our free speech. Could we bring Kurds here? Yeah, Kurds historically integrate. Could we bring Iraqis here 30, 40 years ago that would integrate? Yes, but now the radical groups have taken over Iraq. That's not really the case. Do Somalis end up attacking and murdering? Yes. Do Saudi Arabians end up doing that? Yes. I mean, folks, if you preach the gospel on the streets of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, you get multiple years in prison. The next time you get executed. Oh, and if you're gay, you're dead. But see, I'm a right-wing extremist because I don't want to accept people that are completely intolerant and chain women up like dogs. We'll be back. 30 days until Donald J. Trump will be seated as the 45th president of the United States of America. I'm Alex Jones, your host. The globalists are pulling out every stop they can to plunge the world into war, to cause civil unrest here in the United States, and to raise interest rates to begin to plunge and disintegrate the Trump exuberance that we're seeing in the economy back in to the doldrums, so the globalists, the rent seekers, can try to fully suffocate the economy and complete our journey into modern serfdom. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday, 20th day of December, 2016 worldwide transmission. I was on national Russian television this morning, and I was talking to some of the top intellectuals in Russia on the broadcast, some of the people that advise Vladimir Putin, and we were discussing the fact that the globalists are eugenicists, establishing a planetary government. They're playing nation states off against each other and trying to kill prosperity so that they can dictate the terms of human surrender to the populations. How they're racing to put robots in and put AI in all of our homes, surveilling us, selling it to us via Trojan horse systems, and how the United States, Russia, Japan, and the rest of the world must link up together to try to free communist China and to try to empower humanity and to build a Renaissance culture based on a world designed for humans and a world designed on having true environmentalism and defeating globalism that is based on fake environmentalism and eugenics. And the Russians and the top intellectuals around the world now understand the true globalist blueprint. It's now out there. It's now safe to talk about it. It's now accepted in intellectual circles. And that is the beginning of the end of the eugenics-based New World Order that Adolf Alois Hitler was only a small bad son spinoff of. Our analysis is dead on. It's been transmitted. The signal's already been released. You can kill me now. You won't stop any of it. And I don't want to give myself more than credit I'm due. We were the detonators taking information that was in academic circles that the globalists were arrogant about, believing the public was too stupid to even read it or care. We popularized it and rammed it out there into the open. And the people are now learning about the New World Order. They're learning about globalism. They're learning about its operating system, how it takes over countries, and then what its end game is. And once you find out about the end game, you're living in a real science fiction nightmare dystopia that's taking place in the middle of this incredibly exciting, wondrous, opportunity-filled world of wonder. So it's a paradox. And we're now discovering it's the best of times, the worst of times together. And that the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. Now, obviously, we have the Russian ambassador killed. The Russians have come out, the Turks have come out saying this is not state-sponsored by them, that this is NATO, just like World War I, trying to kick off a major war. Another Russian ambassador was assassinated at his home yesterday. But that may have been, they're saying, somebody finding somebody in the bed with somebody who shouldn't be. That's not confirmed. That's just what is being said. Coincidence? Probably not. Things happen in politics, to quote Edward Mandell House, you can bet they were planned that way. So there is a lot going on. Public executions of Russian ambassadors, private executions. And if you're a TV viewer, we just go where the news is. We're not trying to be sensational. We're not trying to be shock jocks. Reality is sensational. So maybe once a month you see death and carnage and explosions on the show if you're watching and not a listener. But we are showing you the video they've expunged off the web of Nice in July, where 80-plus people were run over, including small children. It's nothing compared to the video games like Grand Theft Auto and the rest of it. But notice they want you to see simulated violence much more graphically, but they don't want you to see a truck from 200 yards away running over people, because then it's real, and then you might want to do something about it. So viewer discretion is advised. But notice you can see all the simulated murder and death. They can show it to even PG crowds at night at 7 o'clock during the dinner hour, but they don't want us to show you what Islamic terror is doing all over this world. Well, we're going to show it. And if people try to censor it on Facebook or on Google's platforms like YouTube, that's why people are leaving you in droves and watching the raw feeds at Infowars.com. Infowars.com/show. So they can see what the establishment doesn't want you to see. Do we show simulated violence? No, we don't show it. But we show you in documentary format, which quite frankly, we can even show you on FCC TV stations that we're on. And do you know how we were able to do that and get around the, quote, profanity or vileness clauses that are out there, the indecency clauses? Because it's documentary format. You ever watch PBS when you were a kid and there's cuss words and there's blood and there's death and you see executions in, Vietnam or something? Or the Vietnam War, and you ask, how am I seeing this? This isn't on regular broadcast TV. Well, how did Walter Cronkite show naked kids running around who've been napalmed with their skin hanging off at 6 o'clock at night? Because it's real. You're not supposed to show a bunch of simulated murder and death because it makes light of it. You're supposed to show the real death so people get sick and don't want it and do something about it. Everything's ass backwards. Walter Cronkite could show you naked little kids running down the street with their skin hanging off their backs and arms. Burn off. Like melted wax. And it ended the war that we shouldn't have been involved in. A big profiteering operation. Ho Chi Minh tried to work with the U.S., tried to bring us in. He was enemies of the Japanese during World War II. He was our ally. The globalists didn't want that. They wanted a new war to pump hundreds of billions in so LBJ could get rich and others could. So you know the rest of history. But that itself is a side issue. Just like Fidel Castro was CIA. You tell the average dumb yuppie that, they don't even know it. They go, he was a communist, not CIA. Oh, really? He was installed. Then he turned against them. More blowback. Or is it really blowback? Or are the globalists destabilizing countries on purpose? That's in the WikiLeaks. They put the Arab Spring in on purpose to destroy secularism, to destroy industry. You know where Europe for 30 years has been vacationing because it's cheap and it's beautiful and it's pristine and it's amazing and there's Roman ruins everywhere? I'm going to skip this network break. This is too important. Do you know? Syria. There's no tourism now to Syria. Almost 6 years after the West started a civil war there using jihadis to go in and murder Christians and basically anybody else that didn't submit to them. And then they have TV movies on Netflix about how great the people are in Aleppo and how they're fighting the evil Assad. All made up crap. And they have HBO specials about Saddam, what a big monster he is. And of course, the CIA now has to admit, oh, he actually wasn't for Al-Qaeda. He fought them. When he was interrogated, he said, I'm CIA. Why have you done this to me? Why'd you tell me to attack Iran and then tell me to invade Kuwait and then set me up and do all that? They said, we're not releasing you. We're handing you over to the Shiites. They're going to hang your ass. All that came out this week in the Daily Mail. You're not going to hear about it here in the United States. So that's what's going on in this country, ladies and gentlemen. That's who runs this nation, and that's how dumb they think we are. But there's a rebellion throughout the government. That's why you see a high-level CIA interrogator come out and say he spent weeks with Saddam, and the headline is, everything we were told about him wasn't true. And Bush was dumb. Bush wasn't dumb. They were getting rid of an old policy from the 50s to put secular governments in the Middle East and try to bring them into the industrialized age that was set up by Eisenhower. And by the 80s and the late 80s, they decided to reverse that entire program. Let's not put a Russian headline up. They'll say it's propaganda. Let's put the Daily Mail up or some U.S. papers that have the CIA interrogator breaking it all down. Of course, you all heard that here 20 years ago on this broadcast. Because none of it was a secret that he was hired when he was an Army captain, when he was 20-something years old, and sent to Cairo in the late 50s to be trained for 2 years by the CIA, or that he was wounded trying to assassinate the communist leader. Then they pressured the Ba'athist in '69 to put him in as the head of security, or they'd keep overthrowing the government. Then they did overthrow the government a decade later in 1979. They put Saddam into power and then told him to attack and gave him the weather reports and all the systems on how to deliver the mustard gas. I'm not lionizing Saddam Hussein, just that guy compared to the Saudi Arabians is an angel. 60% of the college graduates women, nobody wearing burqas, rock and roll music on, Playboy on the store shelves. That's what he did in the Middle East. So much so that Europeans and Russians were going there right through the 80s to vacation. Not anymore. Blew the whole thing up. Because there's a new policy. Destabilize, destroy, overturn countries, ruin them, and turn them over to the Saudi Arabians that keep giant slave brothels. Oh, but they call them harems, so it's cute. Yeah, you get talking to me in a cocktail waitress in Saudi Arabia at some military base or something. You get off the base, you're never seen again. But that's okay because you're a woman. And you're not going to hear one word out of Gloria Steinem about it. Because she's the establishment woman, just teaching men and women how to fight with each other and teaching women you can't have a man, the state's your man. I've got articles today about women saying, just have an abortion to prove you're a feminist. It's so sexy. But I digress. Coming up today, this year we've seen multiple truck attacks. The guy tried to ram folks at Ohio State and stab 9 people. But the local trendy said he was black, so it was wrong that the white officer shot him, even though he was running at him with a butcher knife. And, of course, it was a Christmas party in San Bernardino where he went and killed his coworkers with his wife, screaming, Allah Akbar. But that's okay again because it has nothing to do with Islam. It never does. And we're going to break down the Russians and the whole destabilization program. I told you last week, look for them to start wars and provocations in Syria. I have that from my sources. They're trying to kick off a major war between Turkey and Syria right now that can then basically call in U.S. forces so that they can start bombing because our military on the ground is refusing to. We told you that 5 years ago. Came out this year. Cy Hirsch came on the show and said, yes, it's true what you said 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Our military, the article's called Military to Military, has refused to back the backing of ISIS/Al-Qaeda for Obama. And General Dempsey, or the head of the Joint Chiefs, went and told Obama that night, 3+ years ago, we're not going to be part of this air campaign. The military is going to mutiny. What a historical event. Our military refusing. And they continue with WikiLeaks. to leak the criminality of the Democratic Party and the Republican establishment, to expose the activity in an American counter coup against the globalists that have hijacked this nation. And the Russians now and the Europeans now all know the real score, and they know they're occupied by mega banks. And all over the world, countries, every time they have a vote, Italy 2 weeks ago, the UK 4 months ago, the United States 5 weeks ago, Iceland 4 years ago, Catalonia this year. Everybody's pulling out. Brazil's trying to pull out of these big central banks that just make up debt, make up money, and sign countries on to $1 billion loan like Nigeria. And 40 years later, they've paid back $100 billion plus on one loan that makes loan sharks and payday loan people look like anti-usury angels. People want prosperity. We know in the industrialized age, we should be working 3 days a week and living like kings. Instead, we're being told the more robots and more automation there is, the more we've got to work. It's all been actuaried and all set up to make us as poor and stupid as possible. And it's called Agenda 21, and it's all right there. You can't have a car, you can't have an air conditioner, Obama said as he walked off a jumbo jet, and he told the Africans. Hypocrisy writ large. And Mr. Wilders, over there, a member of the Dutch parliament, ahead in a lot of the polls if he runs for president, panel of 3 judges ruled the Freedom Party leaders' comments in a post-election speech in 2014 were demeaning and thereby insulting towards Moroccan population when he said we're bringing in these Moroccans and a lot of them are criminals. Yeah, well, they've got court cases going on against Marine Le Pen, who's leading a lot of polls for president in France. Because she said, we haven't faced such a threat to our sovereignty since the Nazis in World War II. Yeah, I'd say so. Islam conquered Spain. Islam sure conquered what's Turkey today. Islam went all the way into Poland. That's why the Polish and Romanian and Hungarian girls got those sexy eyes. Because there was a lot of raping went on and a lot of killing. The men got put on slave galleys. But again, it's fun to get put on a slave galley and have everybody killed but the women because it's Islam, so it's okay. It's okay to have the imams, the head imam in Israel, in Jerusalem, and all the other big imams openly. I mean, it's like a cartoon. I mean, it's translated in English, but it's like, like it sounds like Klingon. And it's like, you are weak Americans, you are weak Europeans, your women are ours, we will take them before we kill you first, you pigs. And all the weird, trendy liberals, we played the different UN ads they run in Germany where it shows the German movie star dancing around going, I wear the hijab, I love it, you wear it too, we submit, they be nice. You bring in something uncompatible to a free society, the bastion of liberty, the West, that's emancipated the slaves, freed the women, all of it, the West, demonize it, bring in folks that created the African slave trade, and then get the black folks to all become black Muslims and actually join the group that basically invented the modern slave trade. I mean, that's genius, isn't it? And then when you don't want to embrace that, they call you anti-Islam. Well, I'm anti-Nazi. I think the Nazi culture was bad. I'm anti-Aztec, where they would sacrifice people every single day and cut their hearts out. Oh, it's just a culture. Well, then the Nazis are just a culture. No, it's not just a culture. Oh, was Genghis Khan just a culture where they'd ride through and murder everyone but again the women? And just come through your town and kill everybody and stick you on poles and slit your throat and drag you behind their chariots or drag you behind their horses? Oh, it's just a culture. It's just a culture. No one should have any culture. Just give up your culture. Ask the Muslims how it is. Hundreds of thousands of Muslims killed every year by Muslims. I want to reform Islam like we reformed Christianity. Christianity did a lot of barbarous things in the name of Christianity. Let's just admit the Inquisitions weren't good. Let's just admit if people didn't convert to Christianity in some parts of the world, people were put to the sword. Islam's way worse than that. Completely out of control, and everyone's supposed to tiptoe around it and kiss its big, fat, stinking butt and then everything's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. Here, put it behind me. The truck of peace that has nothing to do with Islam running over people. And if you talk about it, they have the former Stasi hired. You can't make that up. In Germany to kick you off Facebook or fine or fee you, and the police come to your house. And then from Sweden to Germany to the Netherlands, the police are told, make it up when women get raped en masse and say Swedes or Dutch or Germans did it. And they actually get caught doing it. All this mental patient cuckolding, this mental patient, Harry Carey commits suicide as a culture. This death wish, this weird, sniveling, let's kill ourselves culture. Let's hate ourselves culture. And the weird socialist leftists in competition with the West and the engine of liberty and the engine of prosperity, pissed that collectivism can't compete with it. So collectivism's now hijacked it, milking it, and then wants to gut the engine of freedom because they feel so weak next to it. Imagine the globalists and the socialists have got the whole West. It's theirs now. They want to gut it, burn it to the ground, and then bring in a bunch of third world cavemen that keep women with chains and wear hoods over their heads in like freaking space aliens or something to conquer us. And then just run around pissing all over everything in some giant territory marking event. I mean, whoa, what a group of freaks. What a group of mental patients who, again, mommy and daddy gave them everything. They're the most spoiled people on earth, the modern trendy, and they just want to blow everything up and crap all over it as soon as possible. We'll be back. Stay with us.
The Alex Jones Show, because there is a war on for your mind.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You going to sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you going to be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.